Recording. Right. Good evening, folks. Welcome back to week 4. Yeah, week 4 of our PS Photoshop training. And today we're gonna look into selection and layers. And today is where you will learn how to manipulate or clean up your pictures, and then do a little bit of composition and play with the masking tools as well as blending, and how to kind of like adjust your layers and so on and so forth, right? So this is continuous to what we have been doing previously, what we have already learned, and now we are coming into the next stage, whereby how do you want to clean up the hair, how do you want to use the selection tools to make a clean what they call transparent image, where you can edit it with another background and so on. So say for instance you have already taken a picture of yourself, like as you can see on the screen. Yeah, so as you can see, there is a background there, and you want to extract only yourself out of the background, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to extract the what they call the model here, and then we are going to replace the background with something else, right? So without further ado, let's begin our class by doing so. Yeah. So as you can see here, once I have already created a document. So if let's say you have not created a document, say you say create a new document, this is what will pop up again. The new document window options will pop up, and you can name your file as week 4, and the size you can leave it depending on what scale you want to add in. It's okay a bit bigger, so you can just crop it. So yeah, if you are looking at A4, then you can look for A4 size, right? How do you get A4 size? Is for you to just look into print and look for A4 size, right? So if you click this and say create, and it will then create a new document, an empty document. Okay, so that's how you begin with. It's okay the size, if the size is small or big, we can always scale it down. How do we do that? Is with the crop tool. Yeah, so we call that back again, the crop tool. C is for crop. Okay, so let us see on the keyboard, C is for crop tool, right? Or if you just can go here, look into or hover your mouse on this tool here on your side panel, you will then look for the crop tool and you can crop it, right? So that's a little bit of recalling of how do you want to get to the crop tool and crop your document size. And let's now begin. All right, so I've already cropped this file, and now I'm going to do a selection. So by basic, without going into very the basic first, yeah. So by basic, if you are given Photoshop, yeah, if you open up Photoshop, you will have this selection tool, which is the third tool. So as as W is for selection tool, W wonder, yeah, W for wonder, yeah, W is the selection tool. So for the selection tool, let's brush, or if you see this magic wand tool, it's also a selection tool, right? So these two tools, if you hold on the icon, just hold with your left mouse button, you will have two options. One is the quick selection tool as well as the magic wand tool. If you see any of these two icons, then it means that you are able to select any of the regions that you want in your photos as well as your drawings and so on. Yeah, any images that you're doing. So we're going to use the quick selection tool. Yeah, by default, if you just click and drag your mouse with your left mouse button, right, it will try automatically, the AI or the artificial intelligence from Photoshop, it will try to select the nearest similar colors or nearest spectrum of colors, yeah, regions for you to extract it from, or you want to delete it from that image or photo, right? So you can just drag or tap once, or Control D or Command D to unselect, Control D or Command D, yeah, and then come back to this. Your cursor will turn back to the plus and a circle, just tap on any of these colors. Say for instance you want this blue color, so you can just select the blue color alone, and it will select that region that has that blue spectrum. Okay, so again you can carry on doing this on on how big your scale is, and so yeah. So say if you want to have more cleaner selection, then you have to do another way of another method you have to practice. So we'll go into that, but for now, for you guys to understand what this selection is all about, is to select any regions or any specific regions that you want to extract or you want to edit in a photo. Got it? Clear? Yeah. All right. So moving on, if I were to select the background again, very simple. Once you have already understood how it works, now it is very difficult for you to be very discreet or more precise on your selection, for you to extract things. If you want to do it that way, then we have to go look into the channels, right? Yeah, or forget. Say for instance, what does selection tool do? Yeah, I'm going to go back to my selection tool. If I select anything, say for instance I just want the mouth, I just scrub it through with my left mouse button, holding on to my left mouse button, and press V, which is the move tool. Yeah, if I move things around, now it would not move the specific selection. Why? Is because this particular image that I've already imported in, it's still a raw image. Got it? When it's a raw file, when you see the icon on the layer, when it has this tiny little icon on that thumbnail, yeah, as you can see, like a folder and so, yeah, if that's the case, then you cannot edit it, which means it will not select the selected region. Yeah, so in order for you to do that is for you to right click and then change it, or right click on this empty space, right click on it, not on the words on, so just right click on the layer and then click on rasterize layer. Okay, the moment you click on rasterize layer, now this photo has been converted to a bitmap. Okay, so bitmap image is already given you the leverage for you to edit the pictures and so. Now if I were to drag this or drag this over, it now cuts the sections of the image, or you can even delete it if you want, right? Again, if you have already converted any of this image, and if you bring in your own photos, so press W, yeah, W for the selection tool. If I select the eyes or the lips or the nose or any part of the photo, you press V and you can just drag it over, move it away from where the actual position is, or you can delete it, or you can do any sorts of edit within this. Okay, clear? So that's what it does with selection. So it selects the region, you can edit it, you can delete it, or you can even change colors from it once you have already rasterized. Or you unselect. So unselect is Control D, Command D. Control D is for Windows, Command D is for Mac. Okay, can so far? Alright. So that's how selection tool works, right? So with that basic understanding of selection tool has been understood, now let's look into a little bit more advanced manner of selecting the clean selections for you to edit the image. Okay, let's just move on. Say I want to select this. If I were to choose the selection again, selection tool, now in your Photoshop you will have two components right on top on the second shelf. This is called a shelf, yeah. So you can see the icons, the home icon and then parallel to that is there is a button called select and mask and select subject. All right, so select subject, once you click on it, it will, the AI will automatically run and will try to identify which section has the subject matter focused upon, right? And you'll try to extract it automatically. This is what happens in Photoshop. So then this is one way, yeah. So one method is, once you have already select the subject, it will extract, or it will try its best to select as clean as possible to the subject matter, and you can straight away mask the selection by clicking on the mask right away without doing the unselect. Okay, again, if you have already hit on the select subject while selection tool has been selected, select subject, it will try, Photoshop will try to select the subject matter the closest manner, yeah. And all you have to do is do not do Ctrl D, yeah. Make sure the dotted line is still visible. Click straight on the mask and you've got this cleared. Okay, can. So that's how you do one method for you to do the what they call, to do the cleanup selection. Okay, clean selection. So in here, under the properties window, you can then play with the feather and make it as soft as possible, soft edges. Okay, and it will be quite clean. But this is the very base of the alteration. So if you want to hit, you want to play with the density slider, which means it tells you how much of reveal that you want on the background and how much you don't want. If it's 100%, that means it will make it pure black. Yeah, remember, mask is white and black. White is where it reveals, black is where it's going to be cut off like a stencil. Can? Right. So if that's the case, once you have already play with this, and you can even hit on select and mask, and this is where the options where you can select, say for instance I'm going to do a quick selection. Again, I can make it big, I can quick select, but if you can't do that, that's fine. What you can do is you can show edges, or you can even smooth any of this densities and so on and so forth, or you can even do the clear selection. And now you can slowly start to reveal only the sections that is going to be clear, or it's not clouded. You can refine this selection properly, and Photoshop will help you to identify the areas that needs to be revealed. Okay, but you will see certain parts here will be a little bit more revealed. And how do you want to adjust it is by going into refinement, second button, and you can make the brush size as big as possible or small, and slowly do with alt, or you can slowly just brush it to soften the edges so that only the hair is in clearly shown. So for this particular practice, you don't need to be very precise. We can keep this to be precise as at your own time. All right, and so okay. So again, if you were to reveal this clearly, you can play with this reveal or refine brush tool. Right, how do you get here? I will show you again. Say if you are happy with this, take your time and make sure that you can do it at your sweet time. The more detail or attention that you give to any of the sections, and then it will start to be more precise. Once you're happy with this, you can even play with the feather. Feather makes the selection any edges to be a little bit more soft. If you increase the contrast, that means it will make it much more harder. Yeah, the edges will be much more solid and hard. Right? You guys have to play with this in order for you to what they call, in order for you to see how the selection or how uh, how precise your extraction is. Okay, so once you're happy, you press OK, and now you will see this is super clear, right? So we are still not happy with this. Again, look into properties, hit on the select and mask, right? Come back here, increase the transparency, make sure it is increased a bit so that it is not so obvious and it's not so hard. Again, you just brush with the refined brush. Okay, only when you hit on the select and mask you will come to this window here. Then you will have all these options. You've got the lasso tool, you've got the hand tools and so on, so you can play with this and see. Our focus is on the quick selection, on the refine, and as well as the brush tool. All right, so refinement, let's look into refine first. So I'm going to refine these edges here. I can make it small and big. Remember last week how you want to make the size, brush size big and small by hitting on the close bracket and open bracket. Make sense? Okay, so again you can play with it, make sure it is nicer, yeah, it's reasonably good, and say okay. So that is one way of you to extract your image, because the hair selection is one of the hardest one, since it is much more what they call it has a lot of hair strands, which is very tiny. Okay, so that is one way. Of course you're not going to get super precise, you still have to do edits, but this is fairly good enough. Now if you are to, or you were to bring any images, say you can go to Google and find any images, save an image and drag and drop it. Give me a second. Uh, sorry, yeah. So, stop this. Okay. Can I stop the recording for a bit? Oh, pause this recording for a bit. Yeah. This recording. All right. So if you bring in any of these images in, yeah, and what you have to do is you can just press enter or rotate this image wherever you want. If you bring in any image, this is the option. The transformation tool will automatically showcase in your image, on your image, sorry, with the bounding boxes with this X. You can rotate this how much you want. By holding shift you can just snap it to the 90 degrees and make it big, yeah, scale it up big and press enter, drag this, drop it at the back, and now the image is sitting nicely on composition. Okay, so this is one way of your composition. Very simple, it is not precise, this is to understand how it works. Then you have the options to try out and be as precise as you can. Make sense? Okay, any questions so far? Any questions, guys? No, all good. Okay, so that is one.
Sorry,
Yeah,
but can I see the masking process again?
okay, sure. Again, I'm going to delete the mask, drag this mask and drop it. This is also an addition, yeah, and apply or delete. Fine. Okay, I've already deleted this. I'm going to hide the background. Remember to name it there. So say for instance you want to do the masking again. Make sure you're on the selection tool. All you have to do is hit on the select and mask. Okay, and you can just scrub on the subject matter, and it will just reveal things. Okay, it will start to reveal the areas of the subject matter. Okay,
Do we have to manually select the subject matter with the cropping tool first?
cropping tool? No, there's no cropping tool. This is the selection tool. So if you can do that, or you can
I
hit
mean the
on the,
selection tool.
yeah. So there's two ways of doing. This is manually doing it, subject, select and mask. Another way is select subject. Okay, so let it do the calculation. Can you see my cursor has already changed it, and this calculation going on? It will try to select the subject matter, and all you have to do is hit on this mask. This is one way of doing it. Okay, can if you want to be more precise, all you have to do is, I'm going to control D or command D. I can hit on select and mask, and you can slowly reveal the areas that you want it to be revealed, and you want to be extracting out from the complex image with background and so. You can see this is manually doing as precise as you want. Okay, so if you don't need this area, just drag this, or you can use Alt and slowly feather it. Or if you still see this, all these tiny little areas that has this grayed out background that is kind of like blending in, all you have to do is go to the refinement brush and refine the edges as much as you want and make it as clean as possible. So this option is with the new what they call Photoshop, which is the 2020 2020, 2019 and above. Right, the older version of Photoshop doesn't have this. Okay, so this is with this Adobe Sensei, it will do this, or AI we would call it. It will
Wait,
automatically.
what is it under?
Which one?
The tool.
Which tool? This
The
tool?
one, yeah.
Okay, this tool you have to come back to properties and make sure that you select, or if you have a selection mask like this, or say for instance I'm going to hit select subject. Okay, within this, now it will review or come to this particular what they call this particular window with the selection tools options. If you still don't see it, very simple, do the selection tool, make sure the selection tool is selected, and hit on this button here, select and mask or select subject. Right, two ways to go. Select subject, automatically it will select the subject the best possible manner. Select and mask is it's going to give you an option where you are going to do the selection manually by scrubbing your brush over to the subject matter. Am I making sense? Okay, again, if you were to select or you forgot to hit on select subject, all you have to do is select and mask, and you go back here, you'll have select subject, let it do the calculation, it will do the selection. Straight away it will go to this window where you have this option where you can do the refinement, and you can even do the brush tool to make it much more sharper. Okay, so for instance, you see all these hairlines here, very tiny hairlines here. All you have to do is just scrub over it. Okay, this is with the selection. Say I have this region, I go down to the refinement, yeah, refine edge brush tool, and I just have to refine it so that it becomes much clear cut from the background. Make sense? Can you all get to this window? Any questions? And don't forget to say okay, right? So far, Ken? All right, cool. So inside this particular window, you've got the global refinement. All right, you can even go to the smooth, so you will see the edges becomes so much soft, right, as soft as possible. The feather will then make it even more softer and kind of like make it as thin as possible. Make sense? So it kind of have this, backlight. You take your torchlight and you can, you hit on your velvet shirts and so on and so forth. You'll see this nice hairlines. Yeah. So that's what it does. It makes it much more. It brings it in and kind of bleeds in. Right. That's why the selection becomes very soft. Right. So if you play with this feather, see how much you want to, blend it in and make it very soft. You have to play with the sliders and see or look for the best result that you are intending to get. And you can even increase the contrast so that it becomes a little bit more darker. Make sense? Okay, so these are the options for you to play around with. Make sense? Yeah. So that is that. Once you're okay with this, say okay, or you can even look into the transparency. Don't forget the transparency is where it tells how much, it tells the differences between, showcases the differences between the extraction zone and the areas where it's going to be hidden. Okay, so play with the transparency. If it's 100%, that means it becomes completely white. Sometimes it's very hard for you to see how much you have extracted. So this is where you have to try to manipulate and see which is best suited for you to do the edit. So each individual will have their own preferences. Okay, so once you're happy with this, you can look into any of this, any of this, say, options here given, the output settings and so on and so forth. But that is for you to play around. But we are focusing on only on those global refinement areas, and say okay. Right? Once it's okay, all you have to do is click on the mask. Done. You must have this mask. Okay? Okay? Any questions? Nope. Guys, I have to speak up because it's quite hard for me to see the chat. So please do speak up if you need to ask me questions. Right. So if you're silent, that means I can continue. All right. So now if you put in any of the image or any background images that you find from the internet, or you take a photo, you want to place it behind the character and see, you want to showcase that you are in New Zealand instead of you are in Malaysia. So wherever you are, you want to do this photo edits and so on. So you have this option by doing the selection tool. Right. So this is one way. You can still go ahead and then clean it up and so on and so forth by looking at the property window. Say for instance, you have already came out from that window just now where we had the brush tool, refine edge tool and so. If you want to go back there, make sure the property window is open, yeah, and you have to select the mask. That's where you go in and click on select and mask, and you can start revealing or blending it in as clean as possible. See that? Slowly draw in. Alt is to give you the invert. Okay.
Teacher,
Yes.
can you repeat on how I'm gonna put the background?
Oh, the background, yeah. So say for instance you want to insert a background. All you have to do is, if you have all your images, what they call compiled in a specific folder, you save in any specific folder, yeah, for you to retrieve, just drag and drop this here. Right, press enter. If you don't want it to scale or you want to scale it, all you have to do is you will see this particular um, bounding box on the image, you can just drag and drag as big as you want. Press enter or return, move or adjust, arrange the layer below it. So any layers that is on top is the one that is going to be right in front. Any layers below the top layer, it will be placed behind and so. Can?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so that's one way of doing things. Yeah, you guys can practice this again. If you want to have more more time to adjust this, go back and do this selection, select and mask again, come back to refinement tool, you refine this so that it kind of like blends in well enough with the image that you want to select. Or say for instance, now you will see the cursor has a plus. Say for instance, certain areas that you need to make it you have to invert the selection. All you have to do is make it smaller, hold alt and reveal that area. Okay, see that? Alt is to do the inverse selection, and now you can clean it up in that manner. Take your time and say okay. As you can see, it is all well and done. Okay, say for instance you want to have it much more revealed or much more cleaner. Another way of to continue editing this, you want to go further. You say this is not sufficient, it's not clean enough, you want to make it much more nicer. The hair is looking a little bit more messy, there's white feathery feel on that on the hair strands and so. All you have to do is create another layer, yeah, and this time hold alt, okay, hold alt and bring your cursor, don't press anything yet, bring your cursor right in between the layers, okay, drag your cursor right in between these cursors, these layers, yeah, just tap on it once. The moment you do this, it will clip. This is what we call clipping mask, right? Why are we doing clipping mask? Is the layer on top which has an arrow here, right? It indicates whichever selection areas or zones, it will only reflect on the layer below. Make sense? Yeah. If you don't have this, if I do a normal, I'll show you guys a sample. Say for instance you create a layer is empty, you can paint anywhere you want. Okay, let me just choose a bright color so it's easier for you to see. Say green color. So if I paint over this, since it's a brand new layer, it will treat this as an override. Okay, now if you want it to only be affected within that masked area and so, or the layer below, all you have to do is hold alt and drag your cursor mouse, yeah, right at the in between these two layers and tap on it. Now you will see it will hold only on that particular layer. Am I making sense? Again, say I'm going to do this, not clipping mask. I don't want a clipping mask, so just hold alt and just press on it. Say you want to clip it. Now within that selection, you don't want it to bleed out because it's reading all the information from the layer below. I want to just tap this and say only clip within that selection. Now if I do a blending option, I can have all these other blending options to be played with, all the styles, right, blending styles to be played with, and say multiply for instance, and it will only affect that particular area. Make sense? say for instance you choose any other colors after this, right? Say I'm going to choose a bit more black. I just paint over it. As you can see, it will start to make it much more darker and much more cleaner. So if you want to have anything funky as such, yeah, quite funky, darker, or even you want to have it a bit more yellowish, you can see this. This is India map, yeah. So you want to just paint over on that particular subject matter. You can just do with any rainbowish color and so on and so forth. You can see, change the color. Of course, with the mouse, mouse edit, by using mouse, it is not going to be super precise, but this is sufficient for you to play around. Got it? So clipping mask is going to maintain the information from the layer below, and it's going to maintain the selection, and you can do a little bit more edit, right? So say you don't like this and you think it's this is just to play around to understand what clipping mask does. Say you don't want this, all you have to do is delete this layer. Say yes. Okay. Create another layer, right? Hold Alt. Make sure you bring your cursor right in between the two layers and tap on it so that it clips. Now choose any colors from the subject matter, which means the photo, yeah, that you have already extracted. Yeah, I will, if you want to choose that color, particular color, all you have to do is hold Alt. You will see it becomes an eyedropper. The icon changes to eyedropper. That means it is just going to take any of the colors from that photo. This is a little bonus tool. Yeah, just hold Alt. See the cursor changes to an eyedropper. Just choose any of these colors, yeah, or any darker color, lighter color, and so all you have to do is paint over something like this, okay, at the edges, and then choose the blending option, change it to multiply. Done. You can see, so you can tint your hair, or you want to do any sort of coloring on the hair, you can do it. Alright, so if you want to change more, or you want to make it more make more edits, that is going to make it more cooler, make it look more nicer. So choose any of this color, choose the colors wisely, and paint over it to make it much more realistic, so that this won't be so washed out, I would say. Just have to be careful whenever you're going closer or you're eating in away from the hair. So say for instance you're focusing on the hair, yeah, if you're editing the hair, then just focus on the hair. Whenever it touches the skin, you make the draw size smaller or the brush size smaller, and then go try to paint within the hair zones and not the skin. See that? And make it bigger for the areas that needs to be painted off fast, because you don't want to leave any sort of artifacts. Okay, that is going to be super dark, right? Once you have this done, yeah, see that, we try to maintain the darkness on only the hair. Once you have done that, all you have to do is, if you don't like this darkness to be so dark, yeah, all you have to do is the colors. If you want to reduce the colors or you want to blend it nicer, use the opacity, yeah, on the layers window, and reduce the opacity, right, and slowly bleed it in. See that? Okay, right? So once you're happy with that, now done. As you can see, it's fairly good for this particular photo edit. If you're happy with this, you can now straight away extend this, or you can even make it into a poster. Yeah, can. Hello, is that going too fast?
Oh, teacher.
Cool. So with that, you have two options now. One is a simple selection. Now you can edit. This is two options to play with, right? And you've got a bonus tool of how you want to select colors or color pick from the image, and then you can paint it over to get another color. Right. So technique is asking me a question. Layer. I try to alt the layer. Oh no, don't do this. So you see, another bonus layer. This is commonly done. Yeah. If you hold alt and drag this layer and leave it, then it becomes a copy. Okay. But you hold alt, do not press anything. Just move your mouse, your cursor right in between. So you will see the mouse icon changes to arrow, and then there's a tiny little box, right? Once you see this icon, now you clip it. See that? Can, right? Again, hold alt, do not press on it and drag it. Just drag it without clicking on anything until you see this icon change to this tiny drop down arrow with a box, and then tap on it. See that? Couple. Right? Clear? So this is one way of. If you don't want it to be clipped anymore, all you have to do, again the same technique, hold alt. If you move your cursor again to any of this clipped area or clip layers, all this is clipped means it will have a drop down menu. See that arrow, a drop down arrow. So if you don't want it to be clipped, you just have to tap it back again, right? And it will unclip it, which means it comes out from the clipping zone. It will affect every single area surrounding it. Make sense? Yeah. So now, if let's say you are still not satisfied with this, okay, so let's just focus on one side of it. Okay, say you are still not satisfied with this edit, and you still think, oh gosh, this is not making it realistic, and it's you want to have more, you want to have that hair strands and frills and so to be much more precise. Another way of doing is to make sure that you have, say, any curly image or any portrait that has the character has a curly hair, say for instance, or wavy hair. This is not curly, wavy, whichever it is. Yeah, find say for instance this particular image. Yeah, something like this. I want to have this kind of hair. I want to turn this to a brush. I want to paint over it. All you have to do is drag this image again. I'm going to just move it to my next window. I'm going to drag this image to Photoshop, open it. Yeah, I'm just going to do a crop. Say this is just a sample. I just want to have it as close as this, only this area. I'm going to crop it. Okay, I want to only have up to here so that this becomes a brush, and press enter. See that? So it crops. Okay, this is the second options of going from to edit even better. Okay, once you have this down, let's say look back at the other project file or document. You know it is on the left hand side from your view. Yeah, so we have to flip this. So press V, Control T, or you can't do that. Why? Is because the background is locked. Unlock it. Okay, you can see this lock button, just tap on it and it unlocks. Control T, right click, and then flip horizontal. Again, Control T, right click on that image with the bounding boxes still on, flip horizontal, right, not vertical. Vertical means it goes upside down, horizontal means it goes left to right. Okay, got it? So we flipped it horizontally, left to right. Okay, once you have already satisfied with it, flip, press enter. Now this is another trick of how do you want to have it or change it to a brush. So brush, as we know, just now we just only had one tiny little brush, but I want to have the same shape type of brush so that when I paint, it follows the what they call the waviness of the hair. It has the same, there has patterns and so on and so forth of the movement. So in order for you to do that, we have to look into beside the layers window. You've got channels. Tap on the channels and look for the highest contrast, which means not RGB. Okay, you have to off or select any of this to see which is the highest contrast, which means it is clear black and white as close. Okay, say for instance this is pretty close. You can see the blue channel, it gives you quite high contrast between black and white. Okay, so you want to make it black and white like the mask. Okay, all you have to do is now right click on it and duplicate channel, or select it, right click, duplicate channel. Now change this to transparent. Just put that transfer, yeah, say hit transfer. Okay, right, once you have this, all you have to do is Control L or Command L. Now make the white white or black black and increase the white to white. So you have to adjust this in this manner. Okay, there's two ways to go about it. You still have to play with this and see which is the best result that you can get so that it is contrasting one another. See that? So this is a quite challenging one, right? You have to adjust again and again so you get somewhere here. Okay, all you have to do is Control I, Control L or Command L is for the levels. Control I, this is a little bit of advanced. Control I is to invert the selection, and again do the levels, which means you're making it black and white. See that? Something like this, and you can now turn it to a brush. Okay, so now when this is selected, I'm going to select this. See that? Going back to this, I'm going to off this. I'm going to make sure RGB is selected. I'm going to hit on the layers back again, and all I have to do is create, hit on this tiny little sphere here beside the mask tool, remember, and create a solid color. A solid color. Then for this solid color, all you have to do is set it to black or white, and we can off it. Okay, once you have this black and white, paint something revealing to this color, again create another layer and you have it black. How do you fill it black? Choose a black color or tap on this black and white tiny little button here so it chooses black. If you don't see this, you can look into the color window, choose black color and hit shift backspace. Bam, this is what it is. So it is not very clean, but it has to be black and white. But what you can do is you can always choose this selection and now make it into a brush. Now all you have to do is go in, edit, define brush preset, and it will say brush, da da da, and so on, a hairbrush. Okay, so this is a sample. It is not a very precise and clean hair sample. Yeah, always look for a cleaner, much cleaner, very much cleaner selection. Yeah, now you just have to open up the next window and start painting. See that? It will have the hair strands. Can you see? That's how you create a brush. Okay, so unfortunately for this, it was not super clean selection. Okay, right. Another way to just to make you understand how the brush, how to create your own brush is, let's say you have a black and white. Okay, I'm just going to go back and choose a simple brush. Okay, any brush. Right. So we'll come back to this brush presets later. Yeah, but say you want to have something like that, any shape. I'm going to off all this. Yeah, you can see. Say you want to have any shape. Okay, I want to have this as my brush. All you have to do is make a selection point, right, and go in to edit, define brush preset. Now you got the brush. That's the whole idea. Okay, say name it as blast example. So once you have this, now if you create a brand new layer, I'm going to unselect it, Control D or Command D. Now you can just start painting with the same brush shape. See that? Okay, so this is something bonus for you guys. All right, we'll talk about this brush presets later. How do you want to make your customize your own brush with different patterns for you to play around and so. Yeah. So here the first thing is to understand how to do selection and how to play with selection tools. Okay. All right. Any questions? Yeah. Yes, of course you can do with gradient colors. Remove background. Uh, what do you mean remove background from? Okay, you're seeing this. Can you speak up, please? 9p per urban. You can't see
I can't see the the remove background in quick options. I can't see it.
background. Okay, let's see this. So here, oh, you can't see fill, is it? This one?
No,
Is this the one?
in quick actions, it's not there for me.
Hang on, because I think I went a bit more. Hang on. Okay. Can't see remove background. Did you change your workspace? Can you change it back to essential? Can you see it now? So say for instance, if you can't see the remove
It's
background,
on essential already.
yeah, it's essential. Okay, cool. Right. Again, you see this, and then is it with the selection tool, and once you have already selected and you want to remove it, that's why you don't see the window. Is that the one that you're asking? This one is it?
Oh, I see it already. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Can right. So yep, that's one way of doing that is. Okay, any questions? Okay, let me show you another one, another simpler sample where you have this pencil. I'm going to just group this, or Control G, select all these layers. You can select it by tapping on one of the layers and holding Shift and hit wherever that you are hitting. Let's say for instance you want to have 1, 2, 3 selected. Hold Shift and tap on the layer above, so all 3 layers will be selected. If you want the entire layers to be selected, so you see one, the first one and the last one, see that all layers selected. Control G or Command G, you create a group. That's how you create a group. Right, another simple one is, say for instance you have been given a pencil, right? So say this pencil, right? So you want to remove the background and you want to leave the pencil by itself and you want to use it for a poster. The same method, right? So again, from here this is quite easy. A complex one will come whenever it has a background with, you know, colorful backgrounds and similar colors and so. Yeah. So say you want to play with this selection. All you have to do is again select the subject. Yeah, as you can see, it will select as close as possible, right? If you want to zoom in, zoom out, hold Alt. These are all bonus. Along the way I'm giving more tips here. So if you want to zoom in, zoom out, all you have to do is hold Alt and use your scroll and scroll it in and out. Okay, if you go closer you will see it becomes much more, it bleeds out. Okay, all you have to do is make the brush size smaller, yeah, and hold Alt and remove as much as you want. This is a manually doing or manually practice manner of doing the selection, and click on the mask tool. Okay, now when you're in mask tool, all you have to do is click on it once and look for the, I'm going to drop this down again so that I can see more options here. Select and mask. This time around, again using the refine tool and refine it. If you don't want it to, if it's gonna wash it off, all you have to do is make the brush size a bit more smaller, yeah, and hold Alt and slowly reveal it. See that? Or you can even use the selection tool, make it slightly smaller and slowly reveal it. See that? Okay. If you want to use a lasso tool, you can use a lasso tool, yeah, and do a selection like that. So again, there are a lot of other options, not just one way of doing. So these are the manner of doing your selection and removing your background or
Wait, how do you
extract.
access these?
This one, this
Yes.
window.
Yes, this window.
Again, make sure the mask is selected on that layer. Properties window must be open. If you don't see a property window, all you have to do is go to Windows, look for properties, alright, check it. This window will pop, right? Then click on select and mask. Moment you have this selection, you can refine edges, right? You can do your much more clearer selections, which means it's doing a mask for you. Okay, and you can even use the lasso tool if you want to. Alt is, this is how much you want to reveal, but if you don't want it to reveal as much as that, hold Alt. Every time Alt means it becomes a negative selection, so you can cut it off like that according to the shape, depending on how precise you want it to be. Got it? And once you're happy with the selection, that whole reveal is this much. They say only up to here. You can adjust it. You can make it, sharpen it however you want. Right, once you're happy with this, all you have to do is you can feather it slowly and smoothen it. Then bring the contrast slightly higher. Now when you say OK, you've got a clean pencil. Okay, again, if you want to bring in any image in, let's say for instance I want to have this on any dark background. Okay, let me just do this. Say you want to have a dark background. I'm going to drop this down, or drop this below that layer. I'm going to fill this with black color. A push. Now you have a clean slate image. Okay. If you want to refine this, you can either go into the select and mask, or you can just paint like how we did before. Use the brush tool, change the brush to a simple what they call it, round brush, and make sure black is selected. Slowly paint it in. Done. This is another way of doing the cleanup. So I've already covered all these multiple manner of doing your cleanups and photo edits, extractions form of or any photos. All right. Any questions? Any questions, guys? Alright, technically you cannot submit, it keeps rejecting. Are you submitting JPEG? You have to submit JPEG, not the profile. Profile, you keep it, which means you have to export it as a JPEG file, then you can upload it. Right. Now you can do a PNG, you can do a JPEG. JPEG is much more smaller. Yeah, let's go here, save as for legacy. Again, JPEG, you can even go for JPEG medium, you got high, low. You can go for JPEG medium size, so it's compressed a little bit more smaller, and you can save it. Still cannot. Okay. So what you can do is you can submit it to my server rejected. Okay, let me check on the student log. For which one? This? I can change the settings. Okay, I'll change the settings, but if you still cannot, all I'll do is you can always email me. Okay, email me at, I'll put it in the email me at this email address. Okay, so yeah, I will now save this. Make sure you guys save this, the practice, and I'll, yeah, yes. Okay, so with that, now I'm going to ask you guys a question. How do you do the selection? Okay, this time you guys have to speak up, yeah? How do you do the selection? Can anyone see? Hello? Don't worry, I'm not going to bite you guys. How do you do selections? Anyone? What do you have to use? Guys.
Click W.
Right, cool. And then if you need to get to the different tools of selection, what do you need to click, or where do you find it? How do you get to that window? Anyone? How do you get to that window? All right, you have to get into the properties and then click on the select and mask. All right, then only you will get to the window where you can edit your mask selection. Okay, to clean up. All right, and press OK, and you come back to your main document for edit. Right,
Your screen is black.
my screen is black.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now
It's still black.
now
Yeah, it's still black.
oh wow, guys, why you never tell me?
No, it's not for that long. It's like it just became black for like it just became black, yeah.
Okay, now
Although I don't see it.
do you see black or do you see?
Wait, does anyone else see anything?
Can you see my window?
Oh no, we can't see anything.
Oh wow. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing then. And again. Now
No,
see?
I still don't see anything. Now it shows you started screen sharing, but we can't see anything.
Oh wow. How long was it not sharing at all?
Like 2 minutes.
Okay. Okay. So the screen is paused. Okay. I'm gonna stop my recording now. I'll stop sharing and stop the recording.